All right, y'all. We are here and everything is about to get started in just a second. We
Right
live.
there. How about this one? Okay, okay, that's it. How's everybody doing?
I know.
We right up front, y'all. I just want to point it out. We right up front. I'm gonna put up something till some people come in.
You'll get one when you go to a graduation.
I just made you all today. Sorry. All right. So, is your name on your birth certificate the same as it is right now?
Give us about 2 minutes.
Trying to make sure we lined up, y'all. Hold on one second. All right.
Okay, yeah, I know. So many people say
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Percy Glover. I am a Genesee County Ambassador and President and Founder of Fair Voting Alliance. Today, why are we here? There are 12 to 15,000 people in jails in Michigan who are potentially disenfranchised as voters. Meaning that if you have not been sentenced and you are residing in the jail of Michigan, you are afforded the constitutional right to vote. A key piece in voting is education. We need to do a better job of informing our inside population that we have here today and our outside population of who and what is on the ballot. Today we have this candidate forum to do just that. We have candidates from the U.S. Senate and from the 8th Congressional District to talk about who, what they are, and their potential agenda forms and vision as a potential elected official. In responsibility of time, I'm gonna keep my spiel right here brief, but we have some house rules that we have to follow. Please hold your applause for each candidate until the very end, until the forum is over. Please display yourself and hold back any noises, comments, anything. Please let each candidate finish what they have to say, present. Each candidate is offered 5 to 8 minutes to talk about who, what, why they are here, and why they are the best fit for the particular seat that they are running for. Cool beans, everyone? Yes. Thank you so much.
Just one question. Are we going to hear from the candidates only, right? Not no surrogates, am I right?
We have 2 representatives for 2 candidates that will communicate on behalf of the candidates themselves.
I didn't know that was the rule. I thought we come to hear from the candidates, not surrogates. We want to hear from the candidates. I know they do. I mean, it's unfair.
Thank you. We have Professor Todd Womack from the social work, from the School of Social Work at the University of Flint. He will be our moderator again. Each candidate is afforded, or their representative is afforded 5 to 8 minutes. We then afterwards will take questions only from our inside population of people. Contingent on time, we'll take only a few questions, maybe a few more, but that's all based on how much time we have. Professor Womack.
It's an honor to be here, and thank you all for this opportunity just to moderate this conversation. As you stated, we want to hear from the candidate and representatives of the candidate, and we want to allow our residents from this facility to ask questions. So we'll start with just the opening comment from each candidate, starting with the U.S. Senator, right? We'll start with Bill Harper, followed by Sherry O'Donnell, and then Elizabeth Slot. 5 to 8 minutes.
Everybody, I'm Bill Harper, Democratic candidate for the United States Senate, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here to present in front of you. I've been in jails, prisons, youth detention facilities all over this country simply because of this book. This book is called Letters to a Young Brother. When I wrote it, it was a motivational book for young men, and what happened is it won the American Library Association Award Best Book for Young Adults. And juvenile court judges started assigning this book out. And I started to get letters back from young brothers who were incarcerated, young brothers who were going through the system. And what I started to do, it brought me into starting to work. And that's why I joined an organization called Cut 50 to cut our incarceration population nationwide by 50%. Why? Because we are 5% of the world's population in the United States. We hold 25% of the world's inmates. It's outrageous what we've done. Our incarcerated population, we are a hyper-incarceration issue. And the number one thing that links the vast majority of folks that are incarcerated is not race. It's not gender, it's poverty. Poverty is an ill of this country that we have to solve. And if we don't solve poverty, we don't solve the roots of poverty in community, the undereducation of folks. The fact that people do not have opportunity is why we have facilities like this. Facilities where they spend more money on jails than on schools. When we talk about this issue, we have to talk about the systemic nature of this. As a United States Senator, I would be one of 100 people that have a say in the distribution of $7.2 trillion annually. And as Shirley Chisholm says, if you don't have a seat at the table, then bring a folding chair. Why? Because you have to have a seat at the table. I like to say, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the menu. That means you're getting ordered rather than doing the ordering. So as I run to be your next U.S. Senator, I promise you, I will fight for you. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I'm not taking any major special interest PAC money. PAC stands for Political Action Committee. In 2010, Citizens United was ordered. Now, Citizens United allows for unlimited, unfettered dark money that ran into our politics. That's why the vast majority of people who are representing folks accept dark money, they accept corporate PAC money, and they ultimately are making decisions based off big donors and not you. And we all know that big money is made off the prison system. That's right. Let's be honest. I live in Detroit, and I love the Pistons, but I feel some kind of way about it because I know the owner of the Pistons made all his money off of charging you $9 to make a phone call home. So when we talk about these issues, we have to understand, as my grandmama said, follow the money. And people are making money off each of you being incarcerated. I promise you I will fight to dismantle this system. I will fight to make sure our incarceration population is reduced. I will fight to do everything in my power to make sure that there's opportunities in your communities, opportunities here in Genesee County and in Flint, opportunities for people to be entrepreneurs, opportunities for you to get education, skilled trade. I'm a 32-year union member. I was elected to the national board of my union. Opportunity for you all to get union jobs, quality jobs. There's somebody who's running for president that has 34 felony convictions. And someone's allowed to ask you if you have a conviction, if you're going for a job. It's ridiculous. We got to ban the box. Once someone has done their time, no one should be able to ask them about their history in that regard. You've already served your time. And I'll say this, there are two candidates in this Democratic primary. And there's a very distinct choice between me and my opponent. And one of the things that's outrageous to me is that my opponent in this race did not co-sponsor the Cannabis and Expungement Act. Meaning, if you were picked up in 2017 on a federal cannabis charge, and 6 months later someone is in the state in 2018 making money doing the exact same thing you were picked up for 6 months before, someone is not going to support you being able to get that federally expunged off your record. That's outrageous. That's a disqualifier for my opponent just off of that. This is a real choice in this election. I hope you will. Hill Harford, Democratic candidate for United States Senate. Let's go.
That's right.
Well, you can applaud. So just a reminder, as the candidates speak, be attentive, candidates, make sure your conversation is neutral, right? And next we'll have Representative for Cheryl O'Donnell. Yes, please.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being interested enough for coming out and listening to us. Because you know what? your vote counts. Your vote counts. I'm a Republican candidate, but I want to share with you what I've done and why I believe I am your best choice. So I am not new to the prison in our system. My brother-in-law spent time in jail for being one of 5 men that killed another man. I understand some of this. I'm also a medical examiner. As a medical examiner, I carry a badge. And sheriffs knowing here that I'm the only one that they got out of line, I could actually arrest the sheriff. But guys, I've been in this system. I understand the system. Well, this is what I've done. In Benton Harbor, I opened up a free clinic. I am a doctor. And I understand when you don't have healthcare insurance and you don't have access to healthcare, you don't do as well. So I've run a free medical clinic for 14 years in the Salvation Army. I've been in the men's home in the Salvation Army. That's their building. When we couldn't go any longer in Benton Harbor, I moved into Niles, and I still run that free clinic. When Benton Harbor had their lead poisoning in the water, I arranged to get everybody tested and make sure that they were still healthy and going to be okay. When they still couldn't get their water on, I stood out in the cold and was handing out cases of water until they got their water system cleaned up. In the cold, in the rain, in the snow, it didn't matter. Why? Because I care about the individual. My Bible tells me that God so loved the world. You're part of the world. And you know He loves you. And as a representative of my Savior, I represent you. And I represent the things that we want to see right. Right now, the government, and you are being disenfranchised in so many ways. Men being allowed in women's sports and taking the rights away from women. Things that are happening across our country. We need to stand up and say, you know what, we are one people. The other thing during COVID that I did was I brought the black pastors and the white pastors together and said, you know what, we want to show the community that united we stand. I don't see the color of your skin, I see the content of your heart. And we need to stand together. Because together we're going to accomplish more. Together we're going to win the battle. And when we link arms and we lock shields, we're going to win. Guys, in addition to that, I then did a 1,000-seat revival. And I went into the streets. And I went and said, you know what, you can do better than this. And I know you can do better than this. I met a man I just want to share with you, Wisteria. Wisteria's a man that I met in the ER. And he was on SSI. Because he was put on SSI because of his back. The man was 28 years old. He was put on SSI by his mama at age 12 for his back. He came into the emergency room because he hurt his thumb 4 months later. Oh, wait a second, what's up with this? 4 months later? He hurt his thumb playing basketball. And I said, wait a second, you're on SSI for your back. How'd you hurt your thumb playing basketball? He said, oh, don't tell me to give up my basketball, I'd be good. I said, no. But is this what you want to do when you're 40? You're going to collect your SSI check? What do you want to do? He said, you know what I really want to do? I want to be a cop. I said, then do it. He said, nobody ever told me I could. And I said, for what it's worth, you can. Because you can do whatever you want to do. But you need the right help to be able to do it. So when I talked to Mr. I said, so do it. He said, nobody told me I could. I said, you can do this, man. You can do this. The next night, a police officer was in our ER department. And I said, hey, what does somebody have to do to become a cop in Benton Harbor? Is that a clean record? I said, would you do me a favor? I want to connect you with Wisteria. So I picked up the phone, I called this young man from the night before. I said, Wisteria, I've got somebody I want you to talk to. He said, okay. I put him together with the police officer. And he said, you know what, 2 weeks later, he was in his blues in my ER department again, and he started his training. Guys, that's what it takes to stay out of here. The United States has too much. You're bouncing back and forth in the penal system. You're in, you're released in 6 months or a year later, you're back. We don't need to do that. We need to give you the right tools to be successful. That's what I want to do. You're not a forgotten man or woman in this place. You're not. So far as it depends upon me, you won't be. I moved out when I was away from my home when I was 14 years old. But I knew I could do it. That's the message I want to give you guys, is that you can do it. You can be and do what you want to do, but you need the tools to do it. As United States Senator, your next representative, I'm going to make certain, just like my brother-in-law right now, he's a youth pastor. He's got 2 amazing teams. He's married my sister. We can do it. Guys, we need to do it together. You need somebody that's going to represent you. You need somebody that understands the system. You need somebody that's been there, so that we can walk in those shoes together. I can make certain that we get you the help that we need. Because as long as you're still a citizen of the United States, you're here. We need to close the border. At the border, people are getting more rights than you are. That's not acceptable. That's not okay. I've been down the border. I plan on closing the border. I also been into schools and understand that the way up is education. No matter where it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to learn, we need to give you the tools that you're there, that you can, and that when you leave here, you're successful. That's what we want to see. As we need to do that, we're after our kids. We're after our babies. We can't have that. When we think about what's going on in schools, rather than being taught pornography that you don't even have access to. Dr. Sherry O'Donnell, we need a cure in Michigan. We need a cure in DC. I plan on being your representative so that all men and women that are created have our rights recognized. Dr. Sherry O'Donnell, running for the United States Senate. I'm counting on your vote. And together, guys, we're going to do this. God bless you.
We have up next Representative for Alyssa Slotkin. Candidates, you get to the 1 minute mark, I'm tapping your shoulder politely to get to that time. So, without further ado, Representative for Alyssa Slotkin, please come up and introduce yourself and share with the little fruit if you'd like to share.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Levi Todd, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Mid-Michigan political manager for Alyssa Slotkin. Before I get started today, I want to thank Percy Glover for putting this together. Also, I want to thank Sheriff Swanson for allowing us to use the jail to have this forum for candidates to come and to share their opinions and why we're running for office. I am representing Alyssa Slotkin. Alyssa Slotkin couldn't be here today, if you don't know. She is a representative of the United States House of Representatives, and right now she is in Washington, D.C., working for you, working for Michiganders, and so that's why she's not here, and that's why I am here, and to tell you a little bit about Alyssa, and to tell you a little bit about her platform. So first, Alyssa grew up here in Michigan. She grew up in a city very close to here, Holly, Michigan. She had a farm, her family farm. She grew up on her family farm, and
Right.
she grew up on her family farm, and then she went to school. She went to Cornell University for undergrad, and then she went to Columbia University for international affairs. During her time at Cornell University, 9/11 happened, and that's where she found her love for national security. And so in that time, she was recruited after college, after her master's, she was recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency, and she did 3 tours in Iraq next to our military. And during that time, she served.
Let us give each candidate and candidate representative the honor to be heard without sideline, right? Don't take away from someone else's opportunity to hear information that will help them make an informed choice to vote by your sideline. So let's show people from around the world that we can have a conversation and exchange of information without interjecting and interfering with others being heard. Is that all right?
Thank you, Professor. But I just wanted to continue just to tell you guys just a little bit more about Alyssa. You know, once she came back from Iraq, she went to work for President Bush in the White House. And then after President Bush left, and President Obama came in, she worked with President Obama. Eventually, President Obama saw fit to appoint her Deputy Secretary of Defense, Acting Deputy Secretary of Defense through his administration. And after that, she came back to Michigan. After Obama left office, she came back to Michigan, and she saw someone named Mike Bishop. He voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Some of you know it's called Obamacare. And that day she knew she had to do something about it, and she ran for Congress. And she ran in the Republican area, and she flipped that seat. And she turned Lansing into 6 counties. She turned those six counties blue. And so I want to tell you just a little bit about why she's running for the United States Senate. So Alyssa is running to keep our kids in our community safe. She's been the first congresswoman in the nation to represent 2 school shootings. I don't know if you know, we had Michigan State, and we also had Oxford school shooting. And we have to be able to come together to protect our kids. And that is a big thing that Alyssa is fighting for right now in Congress, and also working here in the district, in her congressional district, which is Lansing, East Lansing, and the 6 rural counties around. She wants to make things in America. If you look during COVID-19 and you saw that we didn't have the critical infrastructure that we needed, we didn't have the chips, those who have phones, you know, in your phones you have microchips that are there. And so now we are making things in America. If you look, she voted for the infrastructure law. She voted for the Chips and Science Act so that we could make those critically needed chips right here in the United States and in Michigan. And she want to make sure that everyone has access to the middle class. Everyone has access. When you look at today, you know, our grandfathers and our fathers had access, but what about people in my generation and in your generation? How do we have access to the middle class? And so providing opportunity. And the last is to protect our rights and democracy. When we look at today's world and we look at everything, you look at the attacks that's happened on choice, and you look at what's happened in our country, we have to fight for our rights, and we have to preserve our democracy. And I'll tell you before I close, I want to let you know why I'm voting for Alyssa Slotkin. Because Alyssa Slotkin has spent her life protecting our nation, and she's spent her political career creating opportunities and removing barriers. And that's how we make the world go around, is creating opportunities and removing barriers. So I hope all of you in August, you vote Alyssa Slotkin for the United States Senate. Thank you for this time, and God bless America.
Share that information. So once again, this was for the U.S. Senator position. Once again, we have Hill Harper. We have Cheryl O'Donnell. And we have representation from Alyssa Slotkin. Now we're going to move to the representative in Congress in the 8th District. First, we'll hear from Anthony J. Hudson, followed by Kristen McDonald.
Thank you. Nice job. Very inspiring. Love it. All right, guys. Thank you for being here today. I'm not going to sit here and tell you a bunch of things that I've done, other than the fact that I've survived. I've lived my life. I'm sorry that you're here. I don't know why you're here, but it's not fair that you're here and the illegals are not. This country is going in the wrong direction every day. I'm a truck driver. I've been pushing this country forward for 21 years from behind the steering wheel. Now I want to go to Washington, D.C. and continue to fight because this country needs to go forward, not back. That's what's happening. We talk about education. We talk about cities like Flint, Saginaw. In my mind, they're both dying, including the education. I have a sophomore over at Grand Lake High School. Doesn't even know how to write his name in cursive. How are you going to sign a paycheck if you go mow someone's yard if you can't sign your name in cursive? I have an 8th grader who's the smartest can be, but reads at a 6th grade level. I feel like our education needs to be protected by traditional educational values in this country, not today's indoctrination where we talk about changing our gender, changing our identity, or influencing someone to be bisexual, gay, or lesbian. When you're an adult, you can make that decision on your own. As a child, that's between you and your parents. Protect your children. I will fight to protect your children in our schools. I will fight to fix cities like Flint. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been going through some of the most harsh places in this city. The city is dying. It's filled with decay. Churches falling apart. Schools empty. Windows busted out. Graffiti on the walls. None of this is your fault. This is what our cities look like when our local government and our federal government turns its back on the American people. The Constitution of the United States starts, "We the people." You are part of "We the people." I'm not going to sit here and get all hyped up and dramatic and try and put on a show for you. I'm going to tell you the facts as I see them. I'm willing to be the tip of the sword for you, knowing that the sword itself, the strength of the sword, is the blade that follows the tip. That's where you come in. You get to be the blade. You get to stand with someone that wants to fight, that wants to bring honor and respect back to our government. You get to fight for the right to survive in our country and not let the illegals take over like they're doing. Miss O'Donnell has been to the border. I just got back from San Diego 2 weeks ago. Last year I spent 31 days between Yuma, Arizona and Eagle Pass, Texas. My experience might have been a little bit different. I had the cartel point 3 lasers on my chest to let me know that they see me. I had the military fire their lasers right back at me. I pulled one body out of the Rio Grande River in Eagle Pass. Died 35 feet, 40 feet in front of me, and there was nothing I could do about it. That blood is on Joe Biden's hands. When Title 42 expired last year, I was standing in Eagle Pass again and looked at a crowd of almost 5,000 people waiting to just rush into our country. And if we let all of you just start talking, it would be loud chatter, right? You imagine what 5,000 people would sound like? But no one heard that. We heard a woman being raped by the cartel 200 yards upriver as a last-ditch effort to come into our country. That should not happen. Our border needs to be closed. We have great immigration laws. We need to support that. We need to enforce that. We need to make sure that the national security of this country is protected, because now in Michigan, we have over 100,000 illegal immigrants. A few months ago, Detroit seized, I think 900 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill everyone in the state of Michigan. That's here in your backyard. And it has to stop. As far as your incarceration and your time here in this facility, I would like to see better education programs here. I'd like to see you guys come out of here better than you were when you came in. And I want to see you get jobs. I want to see you contribute to the community. And that starts with what happens while you're here. You get a trade. You become a carpenter. Maybe an electrician. Maybe a beautician. Learn something that will help you while you are in here to prepare you for when you go out there. A man right here said that we have a convicted felon that is running for president of the United States. He's absolutely right, we do, and I support that man 100%. But if he can run for president and win, hopefully in November, then each and every one of you should be able to come out of here without that box on your application. I believe in a second chance program that says when you do your time and you leave here, you have parole or probation, and you complete that program with no convictions, we can remove that from your last name and take that ball and chain away from you so that you don't have the embarrassment of something that happened 10 years ago. Freedom. It's the ability to speak, act, say, and think as you want without the feeling of enslavement. I feel like that box that you're asked to check is part of being enslaved. Who cares what you did in the past? The fact is you rehabilitated yourself. You fixed yourself. You changed. You were responsible enough to become better so that you could help our society and help our community. My brother, 6'9", 310 pounds, thinks he can conquer the world. He ended up in jail. While he was in jail, he learned a trade in Tennessee. Now he owns his own company and is restoring people's homes and doing jack-of-all-trade things, making $150,000 a year, when 7 years ago he was sitting in a jail cell getting 3 crappy meals a day with no respect. As a truck driver, I am one of you. I live under the same struggles and same conflicts that you have in your life today. I am no different. I'm not a politician. I don't want to become a politician unless Americans can represent America again. If you're not willing to fight today, there's no reason to vote tomorrow. And that's a fact. We're losing our country, and you are just as important at the polls as anybody living outside these walls. Again, my name is Anthony Hudson. I'm running for the 8th Congressional District here in Michigan. I've served my country once in the United States Army. Let me serve you again in Congress.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Kristen McDonald. Their representative is here to speak on her behalf.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Hayes, and I'm the organizing director for Senator Kristen McDonald-Ribbett, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. She is currently serving as a state senator, and so she had some other commitments within her state senate district that she had to attend that overlap at this time. But she did ask me to read a personal statement that she prepared. Let me start by thanking Percy and Sheriff Swanson for organizing this forum to ensure that every voice is heard in what is likely the most important election of our lifetime. I wish I could be there with you today in person. I have another commitment in a different part of the district, but I'm working with Percy to find a time to meet in the next month to sit down personally and talk about all the issues that matter most to you. I have always been and will always be a fierce advocate for equity and for fairness. I was raised about an hour from here in a working class household. My dad worked construction, and sometimes it was hard to make ends meet. Because of his efforts, I am the first generation in my family to have a college education, including a degree from the University of Michigan-Flint. Early in my career, I actively worked to level outcomes for all families in our state. I had major initiatives to open high-performing high schools in cities plagued by poverty, launched youth employment programs so teenagers could have a little bit of money in their pockets and learn important job skills, and worked to make childcare affordable and accessible for everybody. Now, I serve in the state Senate, representing a large portion of this congressional district. Among other things, I am proud to have led the effort to pass the largest tax credit for working families in our state's history. The first public act in my name is a gun violence prevention measure. And relevant to today's conversation, I am proud to have led key efforts on restorative justice, including increasing diversion programs for our youth, invested in peer-led reentry programming, ensuring correctional officers wear body cameras, expanding the legislative corrections ombudsperson role to advocate for families and inmates, and more. Genesee County is a national leader, which is why I am honored to be endorsed by Sheriff Chris Swanson as your next representative in Congress. I wholeheartedly support the IGNITE program, Right to Hug, and other programs that help heal our communities and create solid pathways for our returning citizens. Again, I look forward to meeting in person in the next few weeks, and I humbly ask for your support in the August 6th primary. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Draves. All right, thanks for the correction. Pamela Pugh, sorry. Oh,
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Pugh, and some will know me as Dr. Pamela Pugh. I live in Saginaw, Michigan, where I've lived for 52 of my 53 years of life. I served here in the city of Flint as the chief public health advisor during one of the most horrific man-made crises that we will know. During that time, we know that just as in the global pandemic, during the Flint water crisis, the people who were in this facility were often the last, in facilities like this across the state and across this country, were the last to be thought about. But know that you had sisters and brothers who were thinking about you, scientists like me, who were asking the policymakers, what about those who are locked behind bars? They deserve clean water too. They need to know what is going on. In a pandemic, we need the protections for them, just like those of us. We received the videos from people who were inside, and we heard you loud and clear, and know that there are always those who are on the outside who are thinking about you. Because people make mistakes. Opportunity isn't always given equitably. In a city that I grew up in Saginaw, I went to Saginaw High, I lived in the heart of the city, I saw my city become devastated and disinvested in, and I know that opportunity is not always equitable, equal, and accessible. And so we have to be there for those who need second chances. We also have to be there for those who need first chances. So for your children, making sure that we are looking out for them. I am president of the State Board of Education, and if I didn't say so, my name is Pam Pugh. I'll keep saying that so you know who I am and you remember my name. And you remember your friend who will be there waiting for you and making sure that we have policies that make possibility accessible for you. And as I've been on the State Board of Education, as Hill Harper has said, we know that our education system has been failing you, those across this country and those in this state, and we are trying to make amends for it for your children. When we look at rates, we can look at reading rates, and we know that if we're failing you with how we provide education, reading scores can predict who's going to end up incarcerated. 3.5% of dropouts are 3.5 times more likely to be right here, end up and land here. We, as someone has said, spend more money. Taxpayers spend upwards of 5 times more on criminal justice or prisoners than they do on children, on our students that are being educated. And we have to do better. And that is why I have continued to fight for equitable funding so that Michigan is no longer at the bottom, that we are not promoting a school to prison pipeline in the way that we have in the past. As a matter of fact, there were 7 children in Detroit who were trying to make a change for themselves as well as people across this country and in this state. They sued the state of Michigan for a right to literacy because they knew if they were denied that right to literacy, they would also be denied a right to democracy. They sued me because of my role of being on the State Board of Education. What I did was help them to sue me, and I cheered them on. I went and got my own attorney and helped them to sue the state of Michigan. And what was said is that, Pam, you will have damages on yourself. They didn't sue you. They said, Pam, it's no way these students students are going to be granted a right to literacy. But wouldn't you know that just a year ago, not only did they win their case, a right to literacy, but they settled out of court and got $26 million for their school district, standing on the side of rights, standing on the side of equitable opportunity for all. And that is who I have been. I was raised by parents who made opportunity for me, but more importantly, they made sure that we made opportunities for others. I have degrees, but more importantly, I have connection with people that drives me to make sure that we are breaking up and making sure those who want to, the status quo, and making sure that we are calling out those who protect the status quo. We need opportunity for everyone. In Saginaw and Flint, when we look at our income rates, when we look at our poverty rates, and I'm making this linkage, because when we look at our rates of those who end up in places like this, we know that poverty is directly linked. And when we look at our poverty rates across this district, our poverty rates are less than 10%. But when we look at places like Saginaw and Flint, where we have high crime rates, those levels go up to 36%, among the highest in this country. Our criminal rates, our violence rates are the highest, and we see the correlation. And so I am running for U.S. Congress, Pamela Pugh, running for U.S. Congress to make sure that we have economic dignity for all. So when you come out, you can find a job, you can find housing. While you're here, things that we're working on, that I will work on as your U.S. Congressperson, will be making sure that when it comes to public defenders, you have an opportunity to choose people who are qualified. When it comes to cash bail, that you have better opportunities so that you have the opportunity to come out like we're cognizant crimes. Just know that you have a sister on the outside waiting for you to come out, who is fighting for us all, regardless of your income, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender identity. I am fighting to go to Washington, D.C. to make sure that I represent you. And I will make one other note. I am the only person on this ticket from the Democratic side who has shown up. This is important, and it is unacceptable that other candidates are not here. And I thank the organizers for this opportunity.
Next, we'll have Mary Dre.
Okay, I'm the last one. Is everybody ready for me to go with this? No. Okay, good. I'm Mary Draves. I'm a candidate in the 8th Congressional District on the Republican side. I'm from Midland. Everybody know where Midland is? Okay, awesome. We met Percy. We were at a neighborhood event, and I met Percy. And he stopped me and he said, hey, he says, we're going to do this forum in Genesee County. He said, I'd really like it if you came. And I thought to myself, absolutely, I'm coming. And why? Well, I worked the polls in the 2020 election. And a gentleman came up to the poll, and I was working the tabulator. And he started crying. He was just in tears. He was weeping at the tabulator. And I'm kind of looking at myself, I'm like, okay, well, why is this guy crying? I mean, he's just voting, right? I started to him and I said, sir, are you okay? He said, yeah. He says, I'm okay. I said, well, would you like to put your vote in the tabulator? He starts crying again, and he turns to me and he said, you realize, he said, this is the first time I've ever voted in my life. And I said, why is that? He said, because I've been in jail. And I thought to myself, here's a guy who's never had an opportunity to vote because he's been incarcerated. And now he's standing here next to me and he's voting. It was one of the proudest days of my life to be standing next to that gentleman. And when Percy called and said, would you come to this event? I said, you're absolutely sure, we're here. So thank you for having me, and thank you to Chris Swenson for also having us. So I'm from Midland. I am born and raised there. I'm 55 years old. And like Pam, I've lived in Midland for all those 55 years. I know I'm kind of boring. My family's in business there. My husband and I have 2 children, Melissa, who's 24, and David, who's 22. And the reason I'm running for Congress is because my children don't feel like they have opportunity anymore. And that scares me. I don't know about you, but that scares me. The United States is frankly kind of a mess right now in their minds. And when you think about that at 22 years old or 24 years old, or at any of our ages, when you think something's a mess, you need to do something. You need to be part of the solution. So when I went to my husband and said, hey, I think I want to run for Congress, he turned to me and he said, good, then let's do it. And why we're doing it is because better people need to get involved, and better people need to be involved to help solve problems, right? Not just to go and talk, but to actually do. And I think that's where I separate myself from my other candidates in this race, is I get results. I worked a career, started as a dishwasher. I put myself through school. I ended up, I worked for Dow for 32 and a half years, and I ended up as a vice president and sat in the boardroom. And I was just a kid from a dairy farm in Larkin Township, Michigan. My parents weren't wealthy, but we worked together as a family. We worked together as a community, and we created opportunities. I think the other thing that's very important for the next person that comes into this congressional seat is somebody who's an opportunity creator, right? Everybody here needs more opportunity. We all need opportunity, whether it be for education, whether it be for training, whether it be for better housing, whether it be for better rehab opportunities, better opportunities for children. We all need better opportunities. I've never been inside the jail. I never have. I've been outside the jail because I picked up my brother when he got arrested. My brother's a recovering alcoholic. He's Indian, so his skin is brown. So yes, I understand what that means because I've been with him for his entire recovery. I've taken him to 4 different recovery clinics. He's had brain cancer. I'm his guardian. I've been through the whole shebang. And you know what he needed? An opportunity. And now he has opportunity. And why I think it's important that we have opportunities, because everyone in this room does better if they have an opportunity. And that's what I'm about, opportunity and results. I'm also a lot shorter than my other colleagues here. I don't like to get up and talk a whole lot, but I would suggest this. When you go to cast your ballot, think about this. When you look at those columns, think about this. Think about someone who wants to serve you. I'm a servant. That's my only desire in this, is to serve you, meaning you are the most important thing in this district, right? What you need is the most important thing in this district. First, is that person going to serve you? Second, are they going to show up? Are they going to show up and be here when you need them? And third, frankly, are they going to return their call? This morning I had a gentleman, I called him back. He called, we talked to, one of my campaign staff talked to him, and I called him back, you know what he said? I'm totally shocked that you called me back. And I had to chuckle at that, because decent people call people back, don't they? Right, they do. So think about that when you cast your ballot. And when you look at your ballot, it's Mary Draves, D-R-A-V-E-S, Republican for 8th Congressional District. Thank you.
Once again, Anthony Huntsman. Madam, let me give you applause, right? Once again, Kristen McDonald-Rivet. Dr. Pamela Pugh. Once again, Mary Draves. I believe in honoring people's time. I recognize 168 hours between Sunday and Sunday. Nobody gets any more, nobody gets any less. But these representatives, these candidates, these individuals, they have other responsibilities. So we want to honor that, but we also want to give the residents here an opportunity to have a conversation. So first, we're going to ask our guests to be escorted out by the staff here at the Genesee County Jail. After our guests leave, residents, you are free, based on their availability and their time, to interact and engage in conversation, ask questions, to your ability and to your life. So once again, order, we're gonna ask our guests to exit, be escorted by staff here. After they have fully exited, part of it is for safety. Then we're gonna ask the residents if